Hello, good afternoon. Investigators in South Korea are trying to find out what caused a crush in the capital Seoul in which at least 153 people are known to have died. Most of them were teenagers and young adults celebrating Halloween in an area full of nightclubs and restaurants. It's thought the incident began in a narrow alley. Our correspondent Helena Wilkinson has this report.
It began as a night of celebration, young people enjoying themselves in a popular nightlife area. Then this: panic, horror, chaos. The scene after the deadly crush was shocking. Not in view in these pictures, but elsewhere, there were rows of bodies. Some were carried into ambulances. CPR was performed on those on the ground. But for so many, nothing could be done. Officials said most victims were in their teens and 20s. These 21-year-olds watched emergency services treat the many injured. They said the scene was like something out of a movie, that it was completely out of control. The crush happened as huge crowds, as many as 100,000, gathered for Halloween.
There's so many people to the point we were being crushed on the pavement, to the point where we had to spill onto the road where there were, cars. No one really understood what was going on, but there were already several police cars at the scene in front of Itaewon Station and police standing on top of their police cars, desperately trying to tell people to leave the area as soon as possible.
Reports say people surged into this narrow alley, which was packed. Some have described a scramble to escape a suffocating crowd as people piled on top of one another.
There's so many people. What are you going to do with 10 people? Yeah. And I had to turn around and I told the crowd, you can't come this way. People are dying. Because I already knew how bad it was. And people were being so rude. And I had to tell them, you can't come this way. And then it took so long for emergency services to arrive.
A makeshift morgue has now been set up close to the scene. There is now a grim process of identifying the dead. There are so many victims. This is an area that's hugely popular, not just with locals, but foreigners too. Earlier, South Korea's president visited the scene and announced a period of national mourning. During his visit, he said his heart was heavy, adding that he felt responsible for people's lives and safety. Exactly what caused the crush will be the focus of an investigation which has been started by South Korea's president. Right now, there is profound shock, distress and grief that a night of celebration ended with so many dead and injured. Helena Wilkinson, BBC News.
And we can speak now to Eun-bi Lee, who's from the BBC's Korean service in Seoul. And what is the latest on that investigation we were just hearing about?
Right, so currently the investigation is taking place. The police department are looking to CCTV footages. Some are saying because it was downhill, there's probably not only one factor, but combined with multiple factors led to the disaster. There are multiple reports saying on the scene, some were yelling push, push, when they were actually saying back up. And that confusion led people in that crowded area to push each other, which led to a layer of collapse.
OK, Eun-bi Lee from the BBC's Korean service. Thank you very much indeed. Here, the BBC has seen an email which raises more questions about Suella Braverman's version of events surrounding her resignation as Home Secretary just over 10 days ago. She has said that she rapidly reported her mistake after she sent a sensitive document from her private email account. Well, Suella Braverman was reappointed to the post by Rishi Sunak when he became Prime Minister. Here's our political correspondent, Tony Bonsignori.
5 days on from her controversial reappointment as Home Secretary, and the questions are mounting. Suella Braverman has insisted she proactively told officials after realising her mistake, but these latest revelations cast fresh doubt over that claim. We now know the original email was sent at just before 7:30 on the morning of the 19th of October, in error to the office of another MP. At 8:30 they responded back to the Home Secretary pointing out the mistake. At 10 a.m. she replied back, "Please delete the message and ignore." That last message, the BBC understands, was 2 hours before Suella Braverman herself told officials about what had happened. A source close to Suella Braverman said the mistake needs to be seen in the context of her packed schedule. Senior ministers are rallying round.
Suella apologised for the mistake that she made and indeed resigned from government. But the Prime Minister has made it clear that Suella deserves a second chance, and I'm glad that Suella is in Cabinet because she's a first-rate front-rank politician.
Prime Minister. But it raises questions about Rishi Sunak's judgment in reappointing her as Home Secretary after just 6 days, a decision he defended at his first Prime Minister's questions.
The Home Secretary made an error of judgment, but she recognised that. She raised the matter and she accepted her mistake. And that's why I was delighted to welcome back into a united cabinet.
Labour is questioning the judgment of the Prime Minister.
Rishi Sunak should be replacing her. It was an error of judgment to appoint her to this immensely serious job, and to do so for the sake of a political deal, just in order to get his way into number 10, just shows a carelessness towards those national security issues.
Opposition parties are also raising security concerns about the Home Secretary's use of her personal email, particularly in light of claims today that Liz Truss had her private messages hacked when she was Foreign Secretary. Urgent questions are likely to be raised in the Commons when MPs return tomorrow. Tony Bonsignori, BBC News.
2 car bombs that exploded at Somalia's Education Ministry next to a busy market junction yesterday have killed at least 100 people and wounded 300. No one immediately claimed responsibility, but the president of Somalia has blamed the Islamist Al-Qaeda-linked group Al-Shabaab. Somalia has appealed for international medical help to deal with the injured. Polls have opened in Brazil in the final round of the presidential election there. Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva from the Workers' Party came first in the initial round 4 weeks ago. But the contest with his rival, the far-right President Jair Bolsonaro, is said to be tighter than expected. An offer has been accepted that could see Wasps Rugby Club resume playing next season. Wasps went into administration this month and were subsequently suspended from the Premiership and relegated. A consortium that includes former players could now take charge of the men's and academy sides. The administrators say the deal is a significant step forward. And in the Rugby Union World Cup, England's women have thrashed Australia, seeing them through to the semi-final. They won by 41 points to 5 in pouring rain in Auckland, as Joe Curry now reports.
Weather warnings in place, but with a World Cup semi-final spot up for grabs, these England supporters couldn't stay away. A clash against Australia, enough for them to brave the torrential rain. But not even the rain could dampen the spirits of captain Sarah Hunter on her 138th international appearance, which makes her England's most capped player. She got her side off to the perfect start. In the trying conditions, it became obvious that this game wouldn't be about pace and precision, but power. Marley Packer leading the pack to increase England's lead, scoring twice in quick succession. But whilst they dominated the first half, Australia bit back, sliding in before the break to show their style. After the restart, the conditions improved, but England's resolve stayed the same as they relentlessly demonstrated their superiority. The world number ones barely made it into top gear. Australia, still amateur in status, simply couldn't keep up. An impressive performance from the team and a memorable day for the captain.
The most important thing today was about the team's performance and us getting that win against Australia. Now that it's happened, I can maybe reflect a little bit, let it all soak in.
The Red Roses now cruise into the last 4. That's their 29th consecutive win. Joe Curry, BBC News, Auckland.
Well, you can see more on all of today's stories on the BBC News channel. The next news on BBC One is at 5 to 5. Goodbye for now and have a very good afternoon.